In the days that followed, the atmosphere in the company grew heavier. External pressures mounted as new competitors gained traction in the market, and Alex Lee found himself torn between his responsibilities as CEO and his growing concern for a mere employee he couldn't seem to get out of his mind. His relationship with Hana was changing in a way he had no control over, and what had started as a simple professional recognition was becoming far more complicated. They began crossing paths more often not just for work-related matters, but also through seemingly coincidental interactions. During an important conference, Hana found herself in the same elevator as Alex. The two stood in silence, accompanied only by the soft background music playing from the speakers. Hana kept her gaze fixed forward, avoiding his eyes, but the tension in the air was undeniable. "Mr. Lee, how are you handling the market pressure?" Hana asked, breaking the silence with her gentle voice. Alex turned to her, slightly surprised by the casual question but also intrigued. "It's difficult to maintain control when so many variables are beyond my reach," he admitted, his voice carrying a sincerity he wasn't used to showing. Hana glanced at him for a moment, processing his words with a thoughtful expression. "But with the right leadership, everything can be balanced. A market crisis is just another challenge. You have everything you need to overcome it," she said confidently, without hesitation. He looked at her, recognizing the sharpness in her words, something he rarely saw in his circle of colleagues or acquaintances. "I'd like to believe that," Alex replied, his tone more melancholic than he intended. Hana, however, seemed unfazed. She simply nodded and turned her gaze back forward, remaining silent until the elevator reached its destination. After that brief encounter, Alex realized that Hana's presence was beginning to affect him in ways he wasn't prepared for. The way she understood situations without being asked for her opinion constantly surprised him. She wasn't just competent at her job, her strategic thinking was becoming increasingly evident. During another meeting, as they discussed a new marketing proposal for the company, she suggested a bold approach that no one else seemed willing to consider. The idea was simple yet revolutionary, exactly what Alex needed to pull the company out of its current crisis. "What if, instead of just maintaining our market position, we created a movement? Something that represents a fresh start for the company?" Hana proposed, her voice calm yet assertive. Her vision was a turning point for Alex. "I hadn't thought of that. This could actually work," he admitted, impressed. Not only did he recognize Hana's clarity of thought, but he also began to see something more in her depth, a sensitivity he had never found in anyone, not even within his closest circle. But as much as his attraction to her grew, Alex knew he was playing with fire. Gradually, he realized that his feelings for Hana weren't just professional admiration. They were something far more complex. She had become a central figure in his thoughts, a quiet refuge amidst the corporate storm he was facing. Yet, as CEO, he knew he had to keep his distance. Whatever could happen between them was too great a risk. That night, he couldn't stop thinking about her. He felt caught between his loyalty to the company, his family, and now, the emotions slowly consuming his personal life. He knew that if he allowed himself to fall any further, there would be no turning back. But something inside him whispered that perhaps, with her, he could finally find something more than the emptiness he had felt for years. He glanced at his phone, debating whether to send a message. "Hana, I want to thank you again for your work. Your idea was a turning point for our company." He hesitated for a moment, but, in the end, pressed send. Hana's response arrived almost instantly. "It's always a pleasure to contribute, Mr. Lee." Alex leaned back in his chair, closing his eyes for a moment. He knew that his future choices would be deeply tied to this woman. But was he ready to face the consequences? The following days were a mix of tension and discovery. Hana seemed to be ever present in Alex's life, and he could no longer deny the growing attraction he felt toward her. With each meeting, with every brilliant idea she brought to the table, Alex felt the weight of his decision pressing down on him. He knew the circumstances were far from ideal. She was just an employee, and he was the CEO of a corporate giant. But there was something about Hana that challenged everything he thought he knew about himself. She was simple, humble, yet intellectually bold. There was a grace in her that he had never encountered in anyone from his social circle. One afternoon, after an important meeting, Alex found himself alone with her in his office. Hannah was organizing some documents while he watched from a distance. There was something about the way she worked focused and silent that drew him in more than he cared to admit. "Hannah," he called, his voice low but firm. She turned to him, her clear eyes attentive. "I wanted to talk about the marketing proposal. Your idea really made me think differently. You have a rare vision, I don't see that often." She smiled timidly but didn't seem surprised. She was humble, yet her ideas were far above the ordinary. "I just want the best for the company, Mr. Lee. You trusted me with this responsibility, and I'm only trying to live up to it," she replied. Alex felt a pang in his chest at her words. She wasn't trying to impress him, nor was she expecting anything in return. She did it all out of simple loyalty and professionalism. That only made her more irresistible. "Hannah," Alex hesitated, searching for the right words. I don't know what I'm doing. You've become a crucial part of this company, and I find myself thinking about you more than I should." She looked at him, unsure of what to say. The air between them was thick with unspoken words, as if they both knew something monumental was about to happen. But she was aware of her position. She couldn't allow herself to step out of her role as an employee, as a secretary. She knew that Alex's desire could be fleeting, that he might just be looking for something he couldn't find in his corporate world. "Mr. Lee, perhaps it's best if I focus on my work. We shouldn't let our emotions interfere with our responsibilities," she said with impressive calm. Deep down, her heart pounded faster, but she refused to show vulnerability. "I know, and you're right," Alex admitted, feeling the weight of her words. But even knowing she was right, he couldn't suppress his emotions. They were growing stronger with each passing day, and he knew he couldn't ignore them much longer. "But what I feel for you can't just be dismissed, Hannah. I'm losing control." Hannah swallowed hard. She wanted to believe him, but she knew this could be a mistake. She wasn't the kind of woman who would allow herself to be swept away by a fleeting passion, and she feared that their relationship would be just that, for him, a distraction. She didn't want to be just another distraction in the life of a man who had so much to lose. "Alex," she said, using his name for the first time intimate and personal, "you have an entire life, a career, a family that depends on you. I'm just a secretary. This can never work." But he didn't listen. He stepped closer, his voice soft but determined. "I don't care what people say. I don't care about expectations. I know what I feel, and I want to be with you, Hannah." Hannah felt a mix of relief and anxiety. What he was saying wasn't something she expected, and yet she knew his desire was real. But she also knew that this relationship could destroy everything he had built, both professionally and personally. It was a risk, a leap into the unknown. "I don't want to hurt you, Alex. I'm not the right person for you," she whispered, her eyes avoiding his, though her heart raced. He sighed, the pain evident in his eyes. "I can't deny what I feel anymore, Hannah. Maybe I've been blind for too long, but now I see." At that moment, relief and tension finally collided. Hannah, feeling the weight of his words, finally looked at him. There was no turning back now. Something inside her was beginning to break. She knew she was falling for him, but the fear of the future, of what was to come, still loomed over her. Alex took a step closer. "We can face all of this together, but first, I need a chance."